I think for my partner Anthony and I, the most exciting part of this project has just really been getting to connect with the broader community of people who are excited about this stuff, because really, like, it would be so easy for us to just be sitting in my house drinking the stuff and sort of like, toiling in obscurity. But if there's one nice thing about COVID, it's been getting to connect with people all over the country and share the stuff that we're excited about and getting drunk on, frankly, with you guys, and get drunk with you all too. So it's nice to see some familiar faces, and nice to see some enthusiasm from some new people. But can I share my screen, Stephen?
Yeah, let me make you a host real
Cool.
quick. I would say welcome to a few of our people that just joined. Matt, welcome, brother. John, how are you, man? Clarence, good to see you, man. It's been a little bit. Welcome, y'all. And let me make Ben a host here and we can get into the presentation. For the ones that just joined, we are going to start with the Alto, the Quixote, the exclusive release. And please just remember to save half of it if you can, to come revisit it towards the end. As we all know, we're tasting on a fresh palate, and I'm super stoked to share this with you guys, and I want all opportunities of that palate to be open for you guys to enjoy it here. So without further ado, let's make Ben host and let's get into the tasting here. Welcome, guys. Super stoked to see you guys, and let's get into it.
Awesome. Let me share my screen here.
And the nose, man, already I just love I just love the nose on this.
Yeah, so I'd say, it's really tough to talk about what's interesting with this without talking about the normal, or I should say the Alto made from piñas that Isidro Rodriguez makes. This is such a unique, I think there's really only, well, I know for a fact there's really only one other person who's ever done this, and he's in the same village. It's quite similar. They used to be partners. If you're familiar with the green label Mazonte, he and Isidro used to share a vinata. They parted ways. They're still good friends. They're neighbors. They hang out all the time. But these are the two guys that are really, like, to my palate, pushing the envelope, both in terms of quality and just sort of like weird experimental stuff in Michoacan. Are you guys getting is my map coming through for you?
Yeah, it is.
Cool, perfect. So if you see there M1, kind of in the north east corner of Michoacan, Rio de Parras, relative to where most of the mezcal production in the state is coming from, this is relatively high altitude. It's quite different. It gets much colder at night. It's in high altitude pine forests as opposed to much lower altitude, much warmer valleys, which is what you'll see in like Etucuro, which is M3 on there, and then Pie de la Mesa, which is almost basically right next to the city of Morelia. So these guys are a little bit further north, but really it's a difference in altitude more than anything. And aside from the topography, the big thing that you'll see here is it's not home to a ton of papalote or a ton of cupriata, which is what you see through most of Michoacan. It's what you see through most of Guerrero, and honestly, quite a lot of Mexico in general. So these guys having an abundance of agave inoquidens, which sometimes you'll see called bruto, sometimes you'll see it called alto. They're working with a slightly different plant, and they're obviously working with a slightly different set of challenges. When I think most of us learn about mezcal, we're cutting our teeth on stuff from Oaxaca. And I remember one of the first times, actually the first time that I was in Michoacan, I was in Pátzcuaro, and I was at a bar called El Carajo. which super cool. If you ever get a chance, go by there and say what's up to Omar and let him take you to school on all things Mezcal Michoacan. But he poured me 2 different spirits and asked me which I liked. And I said, oh, I think I like the first one better. The second one, a little too lactic. And he was like, oh, all you guys, you learn how to drink mezcal in Oaxaca. You think everything's supposed to come served with a slice of orange and gusano salt or something like that. And he went in the back and he got me this 2-year-old cotija cheese. And then he broke me off a piece of it. And of course, like any, smart person, he showed me that, not everything is sort of one size fits all. And that in the context of the way that he likes to drink it, the way that this spirit has evolved and the custom for it has evolved, it's apples and oranges. What these guys are making in most of Michoacan is super funky. It is super lactic, but that's not a flaw. It's not a fault. It's sort of done with intention. And when that's kind of the target, when your expectations are adjusted for that, it's actually really delightful. So all of that said, the stuff that you'll find in Rio de Paras is the opposite. I think generally speaking, it is the cleanest, least lactic, most sort of fruit forward, mineral driven mezcal that you're going to find in the state of Michoacan. These guys do a couple pretty interesting things. When I say these guys, I'm talking about Isidro, who made this, and Jorge Perez, who makes that green label Mazonte that I mentioned. This was actually a mountain that I drove up because somebody told me that there was someone making mezcal up here, and there was no mezcal, but there was a really great view. So I guess aside from getting a Nissan Pathfinder stuck and having to, I don't know how you push a Jeep up a hill by yourself, but somehow I managed to to get it unstuck. That's what I got for my troubles, was this photo. Those guys are doing a couple pretty interesting things. This is Isidro here. They are some agave alto. They're fermenting in ground. So you'll see in the background here behind that canoa, which is what they're mashing the agave in, those are giant pits. So rather than the above ground tinas that you'll see in Oaxaca and many other parts of Mexico, these guys are fermenting 2 to 3 meters deep into the ground. And the idea there being, when you have this really intense diurnal shift, it gets super cold at night. And it's just generally quite cold through much of the year, even during the daytime. By putting it underground, you're insulating the yeast, you're keeping it at a temperature that they can function more ably. And basically, yeast function less readily at cold temperatures than bacteria. Bacteria will go wild if you give it the opportunity. And if you're not keeping your temperature at a reasonably warm level, the yeast are going to function super slowly. And during that time, you're going to give the bacteria a lot of opportunity to flourish. And so because we're deciding when it's time to distill based on the level of yeast fermentation, if the yeast take a really long time or they take a really short time, that's the measure of how much bacterial fermentation we're going to get during that period. This is actually a photo of Isidro working on the batch that you guys have in your glass right now. So if you zoom in there, can I zoom in here? Let's see. Yeah, you'll see it's all quiote. There's not a lot of, identifiable material that you might recognize as a piña. It's basically all shredded bits of quiote there. So like I said, keeping the fermentation warm, if these guys did it above ground and in people who were in a similar area in Querétaro, who don't ferment underground, those guys are seeing 30 to 35 days fermentation time when the fermentation actually succeeds. And so if you give bacteria a month plus, you're going to end up with quite a large bacterial colony. And what that translates to in the final flavors is these super funky, lactic, cheesy, like dirty socks and sweaty underwear and that kind of stuff. Which, again, if you have a 2-year-old cotija cheese, is really like dynamite. And, you know, in the same way that I think cheese is the perfect example, if we think about, you know, blue cheese or like super funky hard cheeses, if what you were expecting was mozzarella, this would be like a total abomination. This is a total failure. But if your mind is wrapped around the idea of like Parmesan has some funk to it, it's pretty pleasant. These guys are avoiding all that. To give you a sense of the depth there, this is like basically double overhead. Isidros are 2 meters deep, so that's like, I don't know, 16 feet, something like that. And somebody actually has to climb down there in a ladder, fill up buckets, somebody lowers a rope down, hauls the buckets up, and that's how you clear the fermentation. The second big thing that's not really photographable, that these guys are doing, which is pretty unique, they are spiking the fermentation with pulque. So in addition to 1,000 liters of fermenting piña, or, you know, in this case, quiote, they're putting 1 liter of salmiana pulque. And so what that's doing is not necessarily sweetening it. It's not about adding sugar. It's not about changing the flavor. It's about pulque is a fermented beverage. When you put 1 liter of fully fermented pulque in there, you're adding a colony of yeast that are already quite robust. They're already functioning. They're already reproducing. And you're helping to jumpstart that fermentation time. So it's not the wild fermentation that I think we're mostly trained to think of as being a good thing or a mark of quality in the world of Mezcal. But I think it's a pretty smart adaptation that these guys have come up with. I think one of the things that makes all of the whole world of Mezcal so interesting is that really it's not coming from one school of thought. It's not coming from one tradition. It's coming from all these varied traditions. And really what you're looking at is a bunch of people who weren't talking to one another, who, even if they were talking to one another, have unique challenges based on their geography and topography, the availability of materials, the types of plants that grow there, all this stuff. And they're all sort of looking at the same question, which is, if we're going to have a party next week and we need to get drunk at this party, how are we going to get that done? And depending on what you have to work with, it may be different equipment in terms of distillation. It may be a different fermentation process. There's all these really unique adaptations, which, you know, over the course of several hundred years or more, grow into this incredibly diverse, incredibly varied category. And it's really not even a category, it's many categories that you and I assume everybody in this group and everybody that we talk to who buys bottles in the United States are getting to inherit, you know, this incredible wealth of tradition that, you know, when you compare it to bourbon or Scotch whiskey or brandy, is just, it's unrivaled. The final thing about Rio de Paras that's interesting, and Michoacan in general, these guys are working with what are known as Filipino stills. So rather than a traditional alambique, where it's a copper boiling pot stacked with a copper head, these guys are using wooden heads stacked on top of copper. So if you look in the background of this photo, it almost looks like a barrel with no heads on it, like a sherry butt. And so the structure and the format is almost like a clay pot still, if you're familiar with that. So at the very top of this barrel with no head, there's a copper plate vapor rises up into that wooden chamber, hits the copper plate, which you can see there's a hose to the right and then a pipe on the left. That's bringing river water through that black hose. It's hitting the copper plate on the top and keeping it cold. And so as the hot alcohol vapors rise up in that wooden head, they hit the cold plate, recondense, drip down, fall on a spoon, and leak out the side and are recaptured as mezcal. So all of that is what's unique about Rio de Parras and mezcal from Michoacan. On top of all of that, if you guys have ever had our Alto that we bottle, everything that I said is true there. This takes all of that to another level. Isidro and Jorge decided that they had an abundance of agave, and relative to 10, 15, 20 years ago, they also had an abundance of trucks and roads and infrastructure and all of these things that made it more possible to harvest what they considered less ideal or less prime pieces of the plants in the past. And so over the last, let's say, 4 years, they've been experimenting with adding pieces of quiote, so the flower stalk, which normally when you're talking about mezcal, agave spirits, people are just working with the piña, the heart of the plant. So these guys were experimenting with adding pieces of quiote to the mash and fermenting with that. And then last year, both Jorge and Isidro decided they were going to try something weird and do a batch with all quiote. And that's what you guys have here. Pretty unique. I think it's almost more surprising for the ways in which it's similar to the Alto than it is to the ways in which it's different. I think, as somebody who's had thousands of mezcales, and I assume you guys have had, quite a few yourselves, you have an idea that even if the technology being used, even if the style of fermentation and distillation is going to be really different, even if the plants are going to be quite different, there's still a basic principle that mezcal and agave spirits are produced from fermented piñas, roasted and fermented piñas. And so this really threw me for a loop when I tried it. Not that it could be done, but that it could be done in a way where it wasn't terrible. In fact, it's not terrible at all. It's really delicious. And so it's pretty interesting to see something that's got this many centuries of tradition on it, and still there's room for innovation and experimentation in ways that you might not expect. I mean, I certainly would think everything that could be done has been done, and it's really just about us finding somebody who's doing it. But talking to these guys, they're like, no, we never heard of anybody doing this. Nobody ever did this before, as far as we know. So this is really as modern an adaptation and creative twist on the process as could be.
Man, how do I even follow up what you just spoke about, man? That's beautiful. I could listen to you talk all day. I know a lot with our guests.
You could ramble a lot. I feel like that's what I was doing, but yeah.
No, but I mean, you're still very directed in the different points you were talking about, but what makes this special here. So I appreciate that. Do want to give some time here for our members here to share. What do you guys think of this? Yeah. This first mezcal, the Tohono exclusive here for you guys tonight. And if you guys are being shy, I'll lead it off here. When I smell this, it's just like walking through a pine forest. It's transporting, which I think is always one of my things I always look for in mezcal. And when I was sourcing this one with the help with Ben, of course, gave a couple different options, and this was one of them. We tasted with Emily, my wife, and Marsilio, and it wasn't just like Ben told me, he was like, I got a quiote only in there, but I didn't look to see what number it was. I was just like, my fingers were crossed that the flavors would match with the story that it was talking about. And this is just goes above and beyond. I know that the Alto was really popular on our last tasting with you guys. You guys bought a bunch of bottles. It sold out pretty quickly after that, came back into stock, sold out again. And this is the Quixote now, which we have stock of. Beautiful, beautiful transportation on this one. What do you guys think?
I think it's astounding. This is so cool. I've never had anything like this. I'm getting all these kind of melon notes, like a pepino melon, the orange spiky ones that have the green kind of slimy seeds inside.
Totally.
You know, that there's like a freshness to that melon, along with that lactic thing. That's really cool. I don't have the words, but I love it.
You said it, man. You got the words. That's beautiful. Anybody else? What are you guys thinking?
I've had the Alto. I've had an Alto from Jorge Perez before, and is he adding pulque to his?
Yeah.
As well. Okay.
So they are, identical in terms of the technical process. It's really just comes down to the hand of the maker and one maestro's palate versus another.
And there's pulque in this one with the Quixote, right?
Correct.
I think that's what I'm sensing, because I've had other Altos as well from other producers, and I think I'm going back to that Alto I've had from Perez, and it's reminded me a lot of that. I think it has a lot to do with the pulque that they're throwing in there.
Oh,
But
totally.
It's nice. It's nice. I dig it.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoy it. Oh, anybody else? What are you guys thinking? Don't be shy.
I'm getting a lot less sweetness. I remember the Alto. Actually, we just tasted it side by side too. The regular Alto for me has more sweetness and maybe more kind of strawberry flavors that come through. This one is really fun because this one's, for me, stronger in citrus, maybe a little bit more tart. And this one, I had kind of a long finish that was maybe like a little bit bitter. I don't know if it's maybe like lemon rind or something like that, but definitely has a long finish through. So yeah, for me, like almost, I thought they were very different in a way, which is fun. I think they're completely different expressions, which I found super unique.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great point. There is like a little bit of this dryness on this expression with the Quixote compared to the normal Alto. And I don't know. I know that he said that the sugar content is less in the Quixote.
Yes. I mean, and again, none of this is like, or I should say, none of this has been verified with any sort of like instrumentation beyond this guy's experience. And, if you guys watch the video that, Stephen, did you post that on your guys' website or?
I did on the Mezcal Society. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. He talks about it in a way where he's just like, yeah, whatever, it's all the same. And you're like, no, it's definitely not all the same. Like, so I guess it's both a window into the attitude and the mentality of the Mescalero, but it's also sort of like a window into the frustration that I experience on a daily basis of like, I need answers. And they're just like, well, look, man, there's not going to be any answers. So if that's what you came here for, you should leave. If you want some really great mezcal, hang out for a while. And so, yes, for sure, it's fundamentally different. I mean, just tasting it, it's different. It's basier. It has more of those like citrus rind, citrus pith flavors and qualities. I think it has to be lower bricks, that there's going to be a higher level of fiber and acidity relative to the fermentable sugars in there. exactly how much that is, I have no idea. Like I'll have to hang around and try to get in the way the next time these guys are doing this, and see if I can't, be a pain in the ass for all of our benefit. But yeah, it is fun to just sort of be left without answers and kind of have to imagine things and debate rather than just say like, I'll Google that, here's the answer, next mezcal.
I'll just add another comment to it. I mean, I think the flavor reminds me of actual like cherries when they're in that part where it's like sweet and acidic, and then I feel like it has a very chalky and finish on the palate that actually leaves it coated like kind of like white stone and stuff like that. So it's got that nice minerality that in that way, and that actually leaves your palate pretty coated with that, which is awesome. It's a very stony finish, which is nice.
I had a question actually.
Please.
So everyone's talking about like the melon flavor and like the rind flavor. I was getting the same notes, but like specifically like it tasted a lot like a melon rind, not like in a bad way, but like in like a vegetal way. And I was wondering if anybody else got that, and if you did, do you think that that's like because there's like a lot more quiote in it than piña, or where do you think that flavor comes from? Do you think?
Joe, I agree. To me, it's very drinkable, and it's soft on my palate, at least. And the nose is more earthy, and anyway, and then the finish, it's like just so nice. It makes you want to pick up your glass and have another. And, and another.
I have a half bottle. Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's excellent.
It is, it's a weird description for a spirit, but it's really like his mezcal is just crushable. Like this is like you want to sit on a porch on a Sunday afternoon and knock down a bottle of this. Like it's not low ABV, but there's something just so like refreshing and quenching about it. It's the perfect balance of like fruit and acidity. There's all of talking about melon flavors and citrus flavors. It always reminds me, all of his stuff reminds me of like fruit water, like agua fresca, or just somebody sliced up some strawberries or watermelon, threw them in a pitcher of water, let it sit, and then you poured yourself a glass of water out of it, where it's like, there's all these fruity qualities, but they're almost washed out. They're sort of faded out. It's toned down to a place where it's not juicy or cloying in any way. It's really like refreshing all the way through.
I had a bizarre this took me right back to Atlantic City, watermelon taffy, man. When I was a kid, I don't know why or how. I thought I'd pour half this thing. I keep coming back to it. It really just disappears in the glass. Crazy. Delicious.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And always, I have to give a quick shout out to Matt. Always great on the multitasking there. Super data. There's no doubt about that. Just had to give a quick shout out. Goals.
Bedtime waits for no one.
Exactly. Cool. Well, we've been talking about this alto. I think people are digging it. We do have 3 other expressions here, but if there aren't any, is any last points? Anybody else want to say something here? I don't mean to cut off the conversation. We just got a couple other amazing expressions to go through here as well. Cool. Let's get into it.
I think that's sort of like saltwater taffy note, I think, is a great segue into the Sierra Negra from Emmanuel Ramos, which we've got next. I think really, like, without exception, everything that these guys do has such a somewhere in there, it's like a Where's Waldo. Like you can always find this like tropical, like sweet saltwater taffy thing in everything that they do. Sometimes it's the nose, sometimes it's on the palate, sometimes it's front and center, sometimes it's in the background, but it's always there. These guys, after, actually not after anybody. I mean, I think there's nobody who my partner and I as Malbien work with more than Emmanuel, who's pictured here, and his father, Victor. These guys are, I'd say, after Lalo from Lalo Cura, really the people who taught me more about Mezcal than anyone, the people who, before there was a brand or even like a concept, it was just me hanging out, going down there, trying to make heads or tails of like, what is this beautiful thing that I'm excited about? And, you know, I sort of, not that my job is not fun at this point, but kind of pine for the days when I had just all the time in the world where I would go down there and just hang out at their house for 3 days and like ask a million questions and be annoying and soak it all in. It's a picture of Victor's wife, Tilda, who, you know, really like everybody does everything. So you'll find Victor cleaning chickens, you'll find her distilling mezcal. Everybody does everything. It's like an all hands on deck type of place. I think in addition to just the level of talent and care that these guys bring to what they do, what you'll see in the photo here, their stills have a refrescadera. So that's sort of a unique thing. You'll see that in parts of Miahuatlan and Ihutla. And if you look at the top of the still here, not a classic like bell-shaped head. That is in fact there, but that is jacketed in what almost looks like an aluminum garbage can or something, like an aluminum bucket. And here we've got this helpful diagram to break that down if you guys are unfamiliar. You've got the boiling pot, vapor goes up, it goes into this second chamber, just like it would in any normal copper pot still. But you've got that jacket welded around the outside of it, and that's getting filled with cold water. And depending on where you are and what the tradition in that town is, or the preference of the mezcalero, that might have water running through it continuously. It might get changed once or twice during the process. And the idea here is that water is cold. It's keeping that chamber cold, and you're creating reflux. So you've got all this hot vapor going up, alcohol steam, basically. It gets into this second chamber. The chamber is cold. It recondenses and it falls down. It just rains on itself over and over. And so really only the hottest vapors can continue all the way up, get into that line arm, and then drip down and come out the other side. What that means in terms of flavors and quality, like I said, only the hottest vapors will make their way up. And if you're talking about what that is on a molecular level, on a chemical level, we know that alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, right? And so things that are purer in alcohol, droplets that are purer in alcohol, will be able to withstand this cooled upper chamber, the head of the still, more easily. And so you're ending up with something that's both chemically pure and just perceptibly going to be lighter, cleaner in body, more direct. All of these ways that we could describe something that doesn't feel oily or rich. And so that's not a necessarily sense of quality in terms of better or worse. You know, I personally adore clay pot distilled mezcal, and that's the complete opposite of something from a refrescadera. Depending on what you like, depending on the varietal, depending on the batch, you'll find really beautiful things to appreciate in both styles. This batch was made by Emmanuel, who is not pictured here. This is Victor and his grandson, Saul. Saul is 13 now. We have a batch of Mexicano that he made when he was 12, which is awesome.
Wow.
Not just awesome for a 12-year-old, but like just awesome in general. And so hopefully maybe early next year, we'll find an oven that has enough of any one given agave that we can do, 100 liters or something like that from Victor, 100 liters from Manuel, and 100 liters from Manuel's nephew, Saul, which would be fun. This is Saul's brother helping load an oven. I think this was like May, but when we were there in January, he woke up early and he was going to help all the men load the oven. And then his mom called him in for breakfast. And then when he came back from breakfast, the oven was loaded and he like threw a tantrum and cried because there was no agave for him to load in the oven. So this time his mom tried to call him in for breakfast and he was like not having it at all. And Victor was like, let him skip breakfast today. So that's him, really like working hard, loading up some Tobola. That's Manuel's wife, Remedios, and his two babies. And I think, aside from, like I said, getting to spend so much time with these guys and learning about the process that they have with actually making mezcal, they're definitely the family that we're the closest with, and it's really like such a window and a way into appreciating what goes in to making this stuff, not just in terms of like the technical process, but like this little girl from the time that she can remember anything is hanging out in a bodega, like soaking up the smells and the tastes, not of mezcal necessarily, but of these plants, of this terroir, all this stuff. Like there's no substitute. It's a photo from 2018, I think. This is, or maybe 19. This is their first tractor. So when we met these guys, they were father, son, wife, and daughter-in-law all living in like a one-room home with like mud walls, like not even adobe, like mud stacked with tree branches. I don't even know what you call it. And since then, it's just been such a pleasure to get to work with these guys and see their growth, both in terms of like the growth of the family and kids are being born, but also like building, what we would consider like pretty nice homes and having a tractor and getting to, I'm not a do-gooder by nature, and it's not that I don't like doing good things, but I didn't get into this for the purpose of doing charity work or anything like that. But to be able to buy a bunch of batches of mezcal and see that turn into something as tangible as there are homes where there were no homes before. There are kids who can go to school and have the internet where there was not that before. All this stuff is really rewarding. This is a photo from 2017. And this was their palenque. You can see sort of in the back right there, you can see a roof. And just remember that this is sort of down to my left in this photo here is what this field would be. There's a bunch of mezcal in the bodega. And then this gigantic roof here this photo is basically taken from where I was standing in the photo 2 frames earlier. So again, just a really like exciting example of what it means when you're dealing with things that are truly small batch spirits, and it's not just you know, marketing hype or whatever. Where if you buy a small batch bourbon, like, there aren't homes where there were no homes before. There aren't kids that get to go to school where there were no schools before. And when you're drinking spirits that come from a family and a place, you get to be a part of this incredible growth and share, you know, these guys are sharing their life's work and these great spirits with us. And for us to be able to share some of, you know, if not the cultural wealth, at least like the financial wealth that we enjoy with them is such a, like a beautiful exchange. So this is, you can see their old Palenque roof is that corrugated steel silver thing in the back, right? And then obviously the beautiful big new red is where they're building the new Palenque now. That's the wall of the home that these guys had when we first met, and it's still there. And Victor jokes that he wants to make that the museum. More homes being built on their property. I told him I used to like Mengele because it was beautiful, and now it's like a city, and there's all this construction all the time, and it's unpleasant, but it's not. The Sierra Negra that you guys have in the glass is in Agave Americana. It's a cousin of Araqueño, which is probably more famous and more familiar. The other one that you'll see there quite often is Sierra Rudo. And then very rarely you'll see Azulin. But Sierra Negra to me is probably the most delicious of the four. This one got a lot of like bubblegummy stuff. It's got a lot of the that saltwater taffy that we were talking about earlier. Just really like classic agave Americana in so many ways. Sweet, delicious, very agreeable. I feel like you don't have to be a mezcal nerd to understand why this is beautiful and special.
Yeah, Ben. Again, hard to follow up your rants, but it's so beautiful. You know, when I found out that you had a new batch coming in from Ramos, I didn't even need to try it. I'm at a point now with Malbien. I'm at a point with you guys, and I think our guests as well here at this point where it's Ramos family. We know it's quality, and we know what's coming to the market. It's going to be quality because they have their name behind it. For me, the Sierra Negra is very different than the Sierra Negras that we have at Bar and at Tohono Mercado. A lot of the Sierra Negras, you know, like the one from Cinco Sentidos or the one from Rey Campero, they're very bold. They definitely have those nice earthier, allspice kind of flavor profiles. But I find this very interesting because I think that the Refrescadera is having a huge influence on a different spectrum of Sierra Negra that I don't have right now to showcase to my guests, that I don't have in the market too much right now. This is a very different flavor profile. May not be for everybody. I think it should be for everybody, but this is very bright to start. And then you get all those classic Sierra Negra, earthier notes on the finish, which I think is really nice here. I have my rant done. What do you guys think about this one?
Steven, I apologize. I missed what you said on the nose because we were all struggling for what we're getting on the nose. What do you guys get on the nose?
No, I didn't necessarily have any specific. I know that Ben was talking about a little bit of bubblegum, you said, Ben? Taffy?
Yeah, I get a little bubblegum, little taffy. I don't have a great headliner for the aromatics. I don't know. Let's see.
I think the nose to me it's actually meaty, which is weird. It tastes sweet, but it's fruity, that bubblegum, but the nose is meaty and it feels like it's gonna be savory. It's like dried meat, basically.
God, I am.
Yeah, it was like a clean nose, but to me that sweetness that you guys are talking about, it was like gummy bears, you know, like those almost like a vitamin-y gummy bear. I don't know if you guys ever had like a gummy bear that's not just, Harbo gummy bears, but like a vitamin type gummy bear. I was getting a lot of that.
I got a lot of like a sweet cinnamon from it. Like that was like a thing, like like a Mexican cinnamon is like a lot different from any other type of cinnamon. It's a lot sweeter. I got that taste a lot in this one too.
Love it. Yeah, honestly, I think like this is really, I spoke a lot to what you just spoke about on the cinnamon. I got that towards the finish. I got a lot of the fruits, what people were speaking to, gummy bear, things of that sort, taffy, a lot on the front end. And for me, I always love a mezcal that can have that kind of layered complexity, or one where one side of the room is saying one thing, the other side of the room is saying the other. Or the middle of the room is saying I get both. I think this is a really, really cool expression by the Ramos family here. Any other thoughts on this one?
For me, on the fruit tip, I also want to mention cherry, like a really dark red cherry, like cherry skin, which I think I've experienced. I think I've only had one other CR Negra, and I tasted it there too, so it may be influenced by that. But yeah, kind of cherry that goes along with that. Some of the other things, super complex. I love it.
Yeah, the long finish, I totally get. Like the finish of this, I think, has the finish of like maraschino, or even like, if I'm trying to imagine what it's like to have eaten a brandied cherry like a minute ago, it's got some of that. That long finish, with just so much grip. For this is only, I think, 47.4%, and it's just got like really like grippy finish. So I think this is probably the best thing that these guys made in 2020. So we're pretty lucky that there was so much of it. I think the batch was like 500 liters or something like that. So almost double what we usually see from these producers.
And can I ask you a quick question? I find myself just really drawn to Refrescadera mezcals, and I suspect that there's like a chemical reason for that to some extent. But is it sort of self-evident that they're only distilled once? Do you ever see it? Is that kind of self-evident based on kind of the mechanism?
You will see quite a range of ways. So, sort of it should be obvious, but, the Refrescadera is just a tool, and how somebody implements that is going to change quite a bit. So if you're in a Hutla, you'll see Refrescaderas paired with plates in the still. And so there'll be 2, 3 different plates, and all of that again is like creating more opportunity for that reflux that we talked about. And there you're going to see stuff that's really like truly single pass. But of course, it's not really single pass, because it is being
it's kind of recondensing, right?
Distilled, recondensed, distilled, recondensed over and over and over. So it's almost like 3 pass, like a 3-in-1. When you're talking about these guys in Mengoli, there's no plates. They're not running continuous water like you might see in like El Nanche, which is really basically like you could stand on the edge of the Ramos property, and if you had like a really good arm, you could probably almost hit like where a Migdio Harkin from Vago works. So again, it's not like that they're that far away. Like they all know each other. They're all like intermarried and stuff. But if you're on that side of the hill, people are either changing the water much more often throughout distillation, or they're running it continuously, versus these guys who are changing the water once. And so you're getting less reflux. In the case of the Ramoses specifically, we write 2 times distilled on the back of the bottles. We had a thing with TTB where they took issue with the description of 1.5 because they were like, what is 1.5 times distilled? You can't half distill something. But that was the best description that I could come up with for the process, which is really you run something all the way through. When you stop getting perlas, when you stop getting the heart of the distillate, you change the vessel that you're using to capture the distillate, and then you'll take what's basically the colas, but it's not truly like low ABV, truly bitter. There's still some higher ABV stuff mixed in there, and you'll throw that back in with the rest of the ferment and redistill it. So nearly everything in that batch has been distilled twice. Some of it, there's some drops in there that have been distilled 4, 5, 6 times. Some of it has really truly only been distilled a single time. So I would describe it as 1.5, but of course, any simple answer is not a complete answer, and any complete answer can't be simple. So, it's hard to, as a non-chemist talking to who I assume are non-chemists, it's hard to nail it all the way down. But yeah, that's basically
that's
the
helpful
process.
context though.
Yeah. And again, I think to my palate, stuff that's coming off of a refrescadera, however it's being used, is going to just be cleaner, lighter bodied, more direct, more angular than you'll get with just a straight copper alambique.
Yep.
Beautiful.
You guys want to move on to the Borrego?
Borrego next?
Or should we, or does anybody have a 1/2 ounce of the Quixote left to revisit? I don't know if everybody drank that all the way through.
Let's finish with that. Let's come back to that then. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do, you want to go Borrego and then do the last one as the Papalote, or?
Hey, Ben, I was with you. I was ready to go with the Quixote again. But
Yeah, listen, man, this is the original leader that I took from Isidro, that I poured some off of this bottle for Steven, and he picked a batch for you guys out of this. This is all I have left. And honestly, I'm not going to save it. So whenever you guys are ready to drink more of it, I say let's do it.
So I want the last thing on your guys' mind to be that special Alto Tohona exclusive Malbien batch. So let's go to the Borrego. Let's finish with the Papalote and then revisit the Alto at the end before we sign off.
Sorry, you guys have Refugio Papalote, or you have Barranca?
Barranca.
Barranca. Let's do, yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that, and we'll do the Borrego after that.
Cool. Let's do Barranca next, guys. And one thing before Ben breaks into that, I do want to say, super stoked to showcase this with you guys. His first batch, or Ben's first batch of bringing this into the States a few months ago of the Barranca, sold out very quickly. I stashed one bottle away, it's hiding somewhere, to revisit again for a collector's dinner tasting with you guys or something. So with that being said, I'm super excited to have Barranca here with you guys to taste this time, because it sold out so quickly last time. And yeah, let's jump into this one.
Cool. So I apologize. I didn't realize we were doing the Barranca Papalote as well tonight, but let's do it. So I don't have any photos
if you want to
prepared for you
pass it
guys,
to
but
me, I put photos up on the website. I can put those.
Oh
up
yeah, let's do that.
if you like. Actually, I don't even know if we can just do it. Maybe. Perfect. Cool.
So while Steven's getting those queued up, I, for the last, 5 years, have just been so in love with Mezcal from the state of Guerrero, and really it was like an exercise in imagination for me because unlike Oaxaca, I mean, Michoacan doesn't have a reputation for being super friendly, but it is pretty friendly. Same for Durango, for Puebla, for most of the places that good mezcal or great mezcal is being produced in Mexico. You really can just drive around and chat people up at a store, and sometimes, you know, it's like anywhere else, like people aren't necessarily like excited to meet a stranger, but you know, you buy everybody a beer, you make a self-deprecating joke or whatever, and you're good to go. And so, you know, while those places were much more welcoming when it came to exploring and learning about, you know, what was unique in the tradition and the production process and the plants and all this, stuff from Guerrero was really like off limits and not something that I could just poke around. It wasn't something that even like I had access to like photos or descriptions from people. I have some friends who are from a village there, or my friend's father's family is from there, and he lives in Mexico City, and he would bring stuff back and show me some photos, but it just wasn't the same level of access that I had to other styles of mezcal. And so maybe I think it was last May, I got a text message from a friend who had gotten a text message from a friend that Ciro Barranca, who is this super legendary guy and has a cult following, producer from Chilapa de Alvarez, which is maybe, I don't know, an hour and a half outside of Chilpancingo, which is the capital city in Guerrero. He has cancer. He needed money for some treatment. And this being, you know, May of 2020, he had pretty limited customer base to begin with, but really limited because of COVID. And, you know, like very literally, like couldn't sell a batch of mezcal to save his life. He needed like $2,000 for this treatment. And so the word had gone out from somebody that was close with him to somebody that was close with me. And he had some mezcal that he wanted to sell. And the deal was, if you want to buy it, you have to buy it now. You have to transfer the money today. You can't taste it. There's not going to be any like conversation or a verification process. Like, send him the money now. You'll get the mezcal eventually. And me having wanted to go here for a long time, and also having been a fan of his, my attitude was like, worst case scenario, we help a sick old man who has made great mezcal. And, you know, in the scheme of things, it's not going to like jeopardize my business. We're not going out so far on a limb. And best case scenario, the mezcal that we buy is great and I love it and everybody else loves it. And now that we've done this good deed, like, we can probably invite ourselves to go visit him and he won't be able to refuse us. And so we do this good deed, we get this mezcal, it's great. And then in August of last year, we go to Chilapa for the first time, my partner Anthony and I, and get to meet with him and these three other mezcaleros. Ciro, I think, is 84 years old, and the youngest of the guys in his crew is 67. So these are all like pretty old dudes who are just like salty and wonderful in every way that you could hope, and have been making really like some of the best mezcal in the world for a whole lifetime. And unlike everybody in Oaxaca or Michoacan, like, because Guerrero is such like a narcoed out, scary place, basically, like they have not gotten to share in the boom that all these other mezcaleros in other states have gotten to participate and benefit from. And so, one, selfishly, like getting to go there and see all this stuff that I'd only been able to imagine and take a bunch of photos and hang out. That was super cool. But two, getting to go somewhere that didn't feel like super tracked out as far as like tourists are here all the time. When we got there, they said that we were the first people to visit the town who weren't from there in 6 years, which is just bonkers. Like, you're talking about a small municipality with like I don't know, 5,000 people, and that 5,000 people is spread out over all these little disparate communities in the hills. And they're like, yeah, only people who aren't from here in 6 years. That's nuts. Like, I live in Los Angeles, you guys are in San Francisco and all over. Like, how can you even wrap your mind around that level of kind of like cultural isolation? But of course, the flip side to that is when you do things separate from the rest of the world, you're not influenced by that, and your tradition is sort of pure in a way that it's not, that doesn't make it better or worse again, but it does make it unique. And this stuff is super unique, both in terms of the plants that they're using, the palette that they have, the approach that they have. Everything is quite different and really excellent. So it's been a pleasure to work with Ciro and his grandson Javier, who made this batch, as well as several other families there. Cheers.
Salud. Going on that, Ben, this one is 50.3. You have used the term before in this tasting, crushable. This is more crushable. And what's scary about this being crushable is 50% alcohol. This is crushable in like every sense of me as a little kid on Halloween, crushing milk duds like all night long.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like milk dud all day. Like, as you were talking, I like Googled milk dud just so I could remember the picture of the cartoon of the milk dud there. Milk dud all day, papalote. Like, this is just such a cool. Thank you for blindly taking the deal. I have had to blindly take the deal with Neta. So I know that feeling, and I'm glad that you chose somebody so talented to blindly take that in. This is absolutely delicious. What do you guys think about this?
So we were talking about the lactic qualities of Mezcal from Michoacan earlier. I think Papalote quite often, and Cupriata, which is the Latin name, the scientific name for Papalote, is mostly what you'll find through most of Michoacan. So it's not so different in that sense. But Papalote is an agave that also gets a reputation for being super lactic. And what I think is really special and speaks to kind of like the finesse and the talent of these producers in particular, this does have a lactic quality. It doesn't have lactic flavors exactly, but it has a creaminess. It has that milk dud thing. It has a white chocolate thing. Somebody had a brilliant tasting note the other day, and they said the yogurt covered raisins that you get in trail mix. And I was like, oh, 100% that. So it does have this sort of creaminess in texture and in essence, but it doesn't have any like cheesy stuff going on. So it's like really sort of the best of both worlds in a lot of ways.
Well said. Yeah, it's way different than a lot of stuff we're used to getting out from there, for sure. Like, really cool expression here, Ben. Wow, I really enjoying this. What do you guys think? Any comments on this one? Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. First off, I thought we were doing the Borrego. I was way off. I was like, why is he talking about this guy? But when we actually did pop up in the Barranca, because I got him wrong too. But you're totally right about that milk dud stuff. But for me personally, it wasn't the like when I tasted it, like it wasn't the chocolate or the caramel. It was like that oil that separates the two of them. And like that, like also went into like the texture and everything. And when you started talking about how creamy it all was, I was like, yes, dude, that's totally what this is. But There's also like this weird little bit of like I don't want to say it's like an earthy thing, but like there's something else that's like keep like making sure that it's like staying grounded, if that makes sense. And I really do like this this bottle a lot. It's really good.
Love it. Great tasting notes. Yeah, like would you say like maybe of the notes like coming like out to be like more like tobacco or like cigar potentially on the finish there, Joe Jr.?
That's 100% what it is. I totally think it's definitely like a leafy something that like has like a lot of body to it. I totally, you know what, I'm totally with you on it as like it's like a cigar type. No, I do like that. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever eaten a milk dud. Maybe I have, but what I taste is like Cheerios. You know, like the Cheerios, kind of the milky Cheerios kind of to it. I'll have to eat a milk dud to see what it tastes like. Maybe it'll bring that flavor out.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you've ever had like a banana Laffy Taffy before, but like it leaves like a film in your mouth afterwards, and that's like that reminds me of this as well.
I love it. I love it.
I was just gonna say I've been fortunate enough to have the Birria, this Papalote, and the Capone from him. Dude is unbelievable doing different things with the same agave. They're all totally delicious and distinct. It's quite something.
Yeah, it's really there's 99% more than 99% of the mezcal production there is using papalote as the base. And so it's like, how can you expect to get so much variety if you were only painting with the same color?
Right.
And yet like these guys totally do time and time again, like coax out different dimensions and shapes and really like make quite distinct batches. It's not, I mean, I think it's not just us nerding out about it. Like I think that they're actually like quite different.
They are.
Maybe I've, lost my way at some point, but like I really do think when you're talking about the Belia versus the Capone versus the Joven versus Joven from January as opposed to November or whatever, like it's all quite different.
Any other lasting comments on this one before we unfortunately move to the last one here?
I'm not very good at tasting notes. I'm still relatively new to mezcal, but at the beginning, before I really was thinking about milk duds, I was getting more of a flavor like, do you remember the Fireball candies? Those little red balls. I was thinking Fireball, and then it's kind of like that for like the form of it is kind of like that, kind of growing out, and then at the end there's like this sharp turn that just lasts for a little bit at the end, and I couldn't pinpoint what that sharp turn was at the end, but that's what I got from it.
Well, and Clint, it's okay if you don't, because sometimes it takes multiple times coming back to it. Unfortunately for these, we only got 1 ounce pour, but if it intrigues you enough, that's where the potential to get the bottle is. Like, I have time and time again, especially early on, as I got into mezcal, where I would get frustrated too at times where people would be talking about stuff and I wasn't getting it. And then I come back to it and I taste it. And then, it takes time sometimes to pick up the different things that people are picking up. And sometimes those people don't even know what they're talking about either. So you just have to go with what your palate is, right? So it all depends at the end of the day on you and what you like best. And I love that tasting profile. That's awesome. Any other tasting notes here before we move on to the last? This is a great discussion. I love this group. Super excited to talk about this last one. Let's get into it.
You saying that about the Fireballs, I love the like sweetened cinnamon note. I never really like picked up on that, and then as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, 100%. That's what's going on. Yeah, Last one, Borrego from just, I don't know, 5-minute drive from Ciro's house down to Antonio's. Let's see, I think I can share my screen again.
Sorry, I wanted to share the photos, but I didn't have the control to, so I don't want you to think I was lagging, man.
Oh, yeah, I probably screwed it up. Let's say
It's okay. Okay.
I
just don't want you to think I'm resting on the job, you know?
would never say that about you. Let's see. So the Borrego, pretty similar in every way, except for all of the important stuff. To the last one, these guys are, well, Antonio is by all accounts the guy who first did Borrego style Pechuga. And he takes great offense that some other producers and some other brands have, stolen his creation. He's not a very argumentative. He's actually like one of the friendliest guys I've ever met. But he's just like, oh yeah, this is like everybody. Everybody wants to be me. And he's not wrong, because it's great, and like all great things, it's full of imitators. So I'd say one of the big differences between his style of Pechuga versus what you'll see more commonly in Oaxaca, or even some other regions that have picked up on the concept, he is putting everything, all of the botanicals, meat, etc., into the second distillation, as opposed to taking fully distilled, 2 times distilled mezcal and running it back for a third pass. He's adding all these extra flavors in the second pass. I'd say the other really unique thing is he's not adding actual meat. He's adding consommé. So he's basically making a lamb, like a lamb broth without any seasoning. So just boiling lamb in water, skimming all the fat off of it, and then taking the clarified broth that's left, and adding that to the pot. So you'll see 30 liters of consommé going into his stills. I think his stills are 300 or 325 liters. Excuse me, 1,400 and 1,600 liter copper pot. And adding that with a different set of botanicals, or I should say a similar set of botanicals to what you'd find in the local mole recipe, which again, unsurprisingly, pretty delicious. If you look on all our bottles, in addition to the, sort of technical specs that you'll find, the numbers underneath the producers' names are all their GPS coordinates. And so, if you're like me and you love driving around Mexico and seeing stuff firsthand and not looking at photos on Zoom, we encourage you to go check those places out. As I mentioned, not the safest place in the world. So when it comes to the black tape, if you've got a close eye, you'll see all the bottles that we do, regardless of producer, they all have the same address on them. And that address is a wonderful taqueria, which you won't get murdered at. And you may find some excellent local mole. And so in addition to reading the ingredients here on the screen, if you want to actually taste it, that's a good place that I recommend. But you won't find any mezcal there. Let's see. Antonio has kind of like a Super Mario vibe. A lot of the time, he's very he likes to sing. These guys also get these guys party. Every time that we go there, you got to be off the road by sundown. and they're always like, stay for one more, stay for one more, stay for one more. It's a hard thing to get away. That's Refugio in the white cowboy hat, and I can't remember if Antonio was singing in this photo or he was just like really passionately making a point. But either way, it's a good time hanging out with these dudes. One of the other things that's pretty interesting that you'll see in this area, not specific to this Borrego necessarily, but the corn there, people are planting corn all over hillsides. So you don't see this differentiation between corn going in the flatland and agave necessarily going on the hillside. The corn's on the hillside. And I think without knowing much other than what I'm told about agricultural engineering and the way that plants interact with one another, I have to believe the relationship and the co-planting that you see on these hillsides has some effect or some great effect on the quality of the agave and eventually the mezcal that it produces. More cupriatas, you'll see stuff that is as tall as I am. You'll see stuff that is maybe up to my knees or shorter. Really like quite a bit of variety within that varietal. I think when you're talking about Papalote, one of the important things to remember is that this is an agave that basically only reproduces by seed. And so where you see clone reproduction with most other agaves, when it comes to Tobalá and Papalote, with the very like rare freak exception, it's all coming from seed. And what that means is you're getting sexual reproduction as opposed to asexual reproduction. You're seeing the level of diversity constantly increasing within the species. And so when you look at that plant and you look at that plant, you know, to the non-trained, non-botanist eye, not a whole lot in common there. One simple difference between the actual distillation techniques that you see in Chilapa and say other places in Oaxaca, when you look at the head of this still, it's got this much more conical shape to it. It's got like a dunce cap or like a rice paddy hat or something, as opposed to you know, like a drum, which is what you would find with the Ramoses or nearly everybody in Oaxaca. And again, I don't know what the chemist's answer to this would be, but I do know from reading all sorts of books about whiskey and the shapes of stills in Scotland and things, whether you have a bell shape or a conical shape or a drum shape, it's all going to bring out different qualities in the final spirit. And so I think certainly, you know, I couldn't tell you what their mezcal would taste like if it had a different shaped head, but I could tell you that the shape of that head plays a role. Classic Alambique. Yeah. What do you guys think about this one?
Always nice to finish with a pechuga.
The texture of this is incredible.
I think that's always one of the big things I really enjoy about pechugas, meat pechugas, is that texture. If done well, you know, adds that really nice from the fattiness from the meat. I mean, this is consommé, which is interesting that we still get that texture, which I think is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I thought I might be reading into it for that reason, but I went back and tried a few others, and it definitely has a velvety texture comparatively.
I was super excited about this one because I'm very much into savory, wild, kind of different mezcals, and this one was meaty. It's like almost corn dust, dry corn dust, and eating like a soup, like a meal. So it was like it's very hearty. It was delicious.
Nice, love it. What else you guys thinking on this one? These two batches were pretty small. Well, the Sierra Negra, I think that there's still some left. The Borrego, there might be, I don't know. Ben, do you know if it's sold out yet? The batch with
I think Winebow, I haven't looked at it in 2 days, but I think as of maybe Tuesday, I think they had like 2 cases left in stock. So there might still be an opportunity for you to get some and you know, these guys in turn.
I have,
but I think that was 20. There was 22 cases that we brought to the U.S. and I kept a case, so there was 21 cases for you know, people who aren't at my house.
well, I know I got 1 bottle left of the Borrego. Like people have definitely been swooping it up. If you guys are interested, you don't get that last bottle of Borrego and you're still interested in getting it, just please reach out to me. I'll do my best to track down more for you. Or if you guys have another hookup, definitely research that. Sierra Negra, I know there's a little bit of left. The Quixote de Alto, you know, you can only find it with us. We just released it tonight for the first time with you guys. So there is to be completely transparent with you guys, not too much of a stress on your guys' part to get it like at this moment. But it is something that's limited and something that will eventually go out of stock for sure. And I do want to make mention too tonight for you guys that we are launching our new e-commerce site. So for these bottles that you are interested in tonight, I'm going to type it into the chat, but it'll be different than where you normally get your bottles at. It's just going to be Tahona Store, www.tahonastore.com. I did a direct message to Matt on that. Sorry. Let me just write that again to everybody. And so, yeah, anything on there, it's all live. Shipping is live. Let me know what you guys think about the site. And all these beautiful expressions that you tasted here tonight are available there. Before we sign off, I wanted to ask if there's any lasting questions here for Ben or for myself or Marcilio. It's been a wonderful tasting here with you guys, and I appreciate you guys staying here through all the way to the end. Really appreciate it.
Is the new site supposed to be online now? It's not. It says opening soon.
What, really?
It's not Tahona Mercado anymore?
You can still order there for sure, but we have a new site that we're going for like all of, and it's not open yet. Wow.
It is redirecting to a tahonastore.com/password.
Yes. If you guys type in, because we have it only for you guys available, type in Tahona, lowercase Tahona. That password is for you guys until we open it up for everybody. And once you guys type that in, thank you for who said that?
Robbie.
Robbie, thank you, Robbie.
Yeah.
Type that password in, and I'll type it in here for you guys one more time. And that will be it. If you guys aren't in one of the states that we ship out to, again, I'm very thankful for you guys supporting us through here. So just let me know, and I can privately invoice that out to you and send those bottles tomorrow. Not a problem. Cool.
How'd you come up with that password, Steven?
What's up?
How'd you come up with that password, man?
It's just so clever, dude, right? It's like they say never to come up with your password with the name password, right? Don't ever come up with your brand name and name the same name of your password as your brand name. The worst thing that can come out of it, I guess, is that somebody sneakily like buys the bottle, and you know, like, that's not too bad for us.
Yeah, secret revenue is the worst, right?
They earned it, yeah.
They earned it, right? But yeah, guys, I want to say thank you again for joining us here. Ben, again, thank you so much for everything that you guys do as far as bringing these special batches here. I'm super stoked to be able to showcase this here with you guys. And we look forward to our next virtual tasting with Ben probably in a few months, because they do such a great job of bringing new expressions to the market. And again, I want to say thank you to every single one of you guys for supporting us through the pandemic, through all these different, the crazy world that we've been in. And just super excited to continually roll out special releases for you guys as appreciation for what you guys have done throughout all this. So special thanks to you guys, and thank you for joining us tonight. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steven. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Steven.
My
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me, guys.
Hey, Matt, I got a
Thank you,
real quick
guys.
question for you. I know we're closing out. Are you there?
Yeah. What?
Okay. Yeah. So the question is on that last one, you talked about the lamb broth. So does that mean it's non-vegan? Because I'm vegan.
Oh no. Oh no. You're not vegan. You're not vegan. A vegan wouldn't joke about being vegan.
I had a bacon pechuga in Oaxaca when I was there in June, and actually
That sounds good.
they opened up the distill, pulled out the bacon right from it while it was being distilled, and we all took a bite. Well, some people there didn't eat the bacon, but I actually ate the bacon right out of that pechuga
Like the
that they made.
strips?
It was big fat pieces of it. It was almost like pork. It was actually really good.
That sounds good.
So yeah, I'm not vegan. I was just giving you shit.
Yeah, that's cool. We said that we were never gonna do. Well, we didn't say never, but honestly, like we had no interest in doing a pechuga for Malbien. I think that it's something that has a lot of character and quality, but it's also something that like dips too far into like gimmick a lot of the time, and it's just not. We're interested in showcasing the flavors of agave and tradition, and like cheeseburger or cheesesteak pechuga may be the most delicious thing I've ever had. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, delicious is sort of secondary to like interesting or tradition or exploring what's unique about these different places. And so, when we tasted Antonio's stuff, it was like, maybe we need to rethink what we were talking about. So this to us is I don't know when we'll ever do another pechuga, but we're really in love with this one. And yeah.
Cool, guys. Did you got anybody go back to the Quixote? Anybody have left of the Quixote de Alto?
Right, we're supposed to go back to it.
Yeah, we're supposed to finish up on that one here before for anybody else that wants to spend the last couple minutes here. Enjoy.
Headline, it's still delicious.
I mean, I was a little nervous, guys, coming into it. I was hoping that you guys would like it as much as me, and I trust my palate, but I'm always very easily humbled by people that know a lot more than me, and I'm happy that you guys enjoy it as much as I do. So I could sleep better tonight.
Oh man.
It's for me, it's like walking through a cheese curtain into a watermelon bar.
There's like a kaffir lime thing. It's not quite kaffir lime, but it has that same sort of like high citrus oil intensity that I get from that.
Definitely. Yeah, I also like the citrus of this one, like what you guys spoke about, like takes me back to some of like the most yummy jabalis that I've had, where like I really love, besides that minerality aspect, how there can be these like really bright citrus notes out of an agave that's like growing out of these like crazy like limestone rock and like side of slopes. And so I think that's what really like drew me to this exclusive opportunity that Ben gave us for this one too. So I thought that was pretty cool. You have more of the Alto coming in, Ben? Like the normal Alto, or?
Yeah, the normal Alto, I think, is sold out in California. I think New York just took, I don't remember. I think New York has 25 cases headed there right now. And then I think we'll have 40 or 50 more cases available in California, like end of September, beginning of October, something like that, depending on how long it takes to go through the distributor and everything.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have the Tohona exclusive to tie you down until that Alto comes back, or maybe you like this Alto more, or maybe you like the other Alto, but it's here for you guys. And we have a flight all month showcasing these new expressions as well. If you're in San Diego, and if you guys are visiting San Francisco, of course, I know you guys would let me know. But if you are, please let me know. I'd love to host you at the shop. I'd be very upset if you didn't let me know. But
Just pro tip, if you go to the shop, Steven has a world of snacks and home cleaning products stashed in the back room. You think it's just mezcal, but he will give away like, bleach pads or whatever crazy floor cleaning stuff he inherited from the previous shop owners. So do yourself a favor, ask for some old snacks.
That offer stands on the table. If you guys come and you guys want to get some bleach, we have bleach. If you guys want to get some fabric softener, that offer stands on the table. It's there for you guys for sure. We had to buy $30,000 worth of grocery items and cleaning products. So, we're there. The only stuff I kept from the booze from them was Mezcal Union, a 40% ABV Espadin that they had randomly. And some green chartreuse and some Aperol and some Campari. That was pretty much all that I kept from their liquor offerings. So yeah,
you got to save that stuff. Yeah. Give yourself like anniversary cocktails from it every year.
Exactly. That's some weird Amaros I've never heard of before that I'm gonna make Marsilio, or I'm gonna ask Marsilio if he can come up with a cocktail with mezcal with one of these weird Amaros so that we can just go through it a little bit. But yeah, it's filled up now. We had a whole basement that was just, when we took over the shop, it was not being used at all. It was just like all this just like random stuff since the 1930s. And now it's filled with mezcal. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
Hey guys, I have one question real quick, storage question on mezcal. When you store your mezcal, do you prefer that it's standing upwards or versus putting it on how wines are usually stored? Does that, besides the leak, if it leaks, aside from that, does it have a problem if it touches the cork or anything upwards? Okay.
Yeah, the acid will eat the cork, and I suspect that has happened a little bit with some of the mezcal that's been stored through the pandemic. For the first time a couple weeks ago, I had to reject some corked bottles that came. You could see like literally the liquid of the mezcal colored to it, and it could be a combination of two things. One, the storing down like this, which I've seen before, or just really, really bad quality from the brand of mezcal.
That's great.
But yeah, always up.
Out of curiosity, was that were they natural corks or synthetic?
They were natural. They were natural.
Probably synthetic is okay, whatever you do. But,
yeah, I would suspect for sure.
Yeah, all spirits though. I mean, whiskey, whatever, upright is the way to go.
Yeah, the acid will eat at the cork. So yeah, that was tough to see. It was a big brand too. I'm not gonna speak to who it was, but it was a big brand. So it's always something to make sure that you're looking at, keeping track of, and always making sure you're inspecting the bottles very closely from the liquor stores that you're buying from. It's really important because a lot of stuff hasn't been kept to the quality that it should have been. Malbien, no problems whatsoever. Don't worry about that. Honestly,
Steven sells it too fast. It doesn't sit around.
I sell it too fast.
So Steven, I got one more question for you. That was a good question about the cork, but I want to know. I tried my damnedest to get that last fucking bottle of Borrego, and somebody beat me to it. I knew it, Matthew. I knew it was you.
I tried Kudos Gone as well.
Right here.
I knew it. Mike, I saw you on your fucking phone, dude. If I would have remembered my PayPal password fast enough.
I'll resell it to you.
We'll sell it to you for $500.
Yeah.
No, you guys can't resell it. You guys can't resell it.
Well, we'll be trading it. It's a barter. We'll be bartering for it.
I will send an email right now to my distributor and ask and see if there's anything left.
Okay.
For you guys, 100%.
All right. So the next question is Matt, what's your address? I'm gonna get a flight from Denver. We'll be over there on Tuesday.
Nice. Cool, guys. Well, we have our second weekend of soft opening tomorrow. So I'm super stoked. We had a really great soft opening last week. We definitely had we had the breaker go out because we connected too many panini makers to one breaker. So definitely learned my lesson on that. I thought, we had new electrical in there and we could connect multiple paninis to one. But yeah, learn the hard way on that. So we'll readjust for this weekend. But again, I want to say thank you for each of your guys' time tonight. I have to head out, unfortunately, because I got a long day ahead of me, but I'll leave you guys to it. And again, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thanks, Steven.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Steven, appreciate it.
Nice seeing everybody.
Good night.
Hi, guys.